Okay. Thank you guys for joining in. How has the day been? Quite hectic? I'm sure you guys have gone through a lot of sessions, right? Don't worry, we won't take much time. It's just a 30-minute session. So let's get started. It's a standard disclaimer. You guys might have seen this in all the events that is happening. So I'll just pause for a couple of seconds and get started. Here is the agenda that we are going to go through. We will see the challenges, few of the deep dives, and the key takeaways on how we are using Aria Operations for logs in our IT environment in VMware. Okay, so before I start the journey with the logs, how many of you run the IT shop or work closely with the IT shop? Okay. I have a question for you guys. Uh, have you come across a scenario where you haven't seen any issues or errors in your IT? No, right? Issues and errors are bound to happen. But when they happen, they generate a lot of logs. These kind of applications that we have today are microservice architecture, containerized, they generate a lot of logs. But when they do, identifying that singular anomaly, which can help us troubleshoot the problem, is very tough, right? That's what we are going to discuss today. In our IT, we have 120,000 logs coming into Aria Operations for log every second. That's the number we have. So I am Vamshi Kiran from Observability and Tools. Along with me, I have Fassil, who is a technical expert on Aria Operations for logs. Let's get started. So this is our log journey. Fassil is going to take us through this journey, and he will also help us understand how he was able to troubleshoot and using the best practices that he has come up with a scenario that I just explained where you are able to identify the issues and errors quickly.
Thanks, Vamshi. My name is Fassil. I am part of VMware IT. As Vamshi mentioned, how VMware IT uses Aria Operation for logs for their day-to-day operations. So, as most of you are familiar, Aria Operation for logs, the formal name was VMware Log Insight. Log Insight is an enterprise log aggregator tool that collects logs from your public, private, and hybrid cloud. It gives the entire visibility of your logs by using machine learning capabilities of Aria Operation for logs. So it adds structures to your unstructured data. So before we get into the performance and scalability of Aria Operation for logs, let us take a deep dive. The best architect we follow within VMware, and we do recommend the same to our customers as well. So if you see here, we do have a couple of data centers across the globe. We're running 63 data centers across multiple geolocations. Getting the logs from all the locations becomes a tedious task. Now, within VMware IT, we do follow the architect, which is distributed architect. We have the central log insight cluster deployed in one data center, and we have the forwarders which are running on the remote data centers. Now the question may come up, why we need the remote log forwarders? Why can't we directly send everything to the centralized one? Now, when you are running a small data centers on the remote site, if you lose your network connectivity, if the logs are directly going to the centralized one, you are blind. You don't have any visibility on the logs, what's happening. Now, if you have the forwarder, it collects logs locally, it gives you the mechanism, filter and forward. Basically, you can send the required logs to the centralized server that reduce your bandwidth, that increase the performance of your log inside cluster. Second thing, in case of network loss, this piece has a capability to have cache those logs around 2 GB. Once the network restores, it sends that back that it logs to the centralized server. And we do use something called integrated load balancer, which is basically the VIP IP. We are not using any traditional load balancer. It's a default which comes with Aria operation for logs. For a single cluster deployment, you can have 60 ILBs created. I will talk in the coming slides what are the functionalities of ILB. And Aria operation for logs support 2 protocols. One is CF API, which is the Aria operation for agents, which is called login site agent, earlier name, and the syslog protocol. So you can push logs from your network devices using the syslog protocol, or if you are running the application server, which is running on VM, which is running on containers, we can deploy the login site agent to get the logs from that. And we do have 2 offerings. One is the on-prem offering, one is a cloud offering, which is running on SaaS. So in the SaaS version, it's the same deployment. Only the thing, you need to deploy a proxy. Proxy is nothing but the gateway services between your private and the VMware SaaS services. So the proxy will collect the logs and send those logs to the SaaS Aria operation for logs. So we do an integration with multiple service providers like GCP, AWS, Azure. So if you have workloads running on these service providers, we can fetch the logs and show in a single pane of glass.
OK, so I have a question for you, Fassil.
Yes, sure.
Let me make it more interesting. I did come across customers saying that I have about 100 TB of logs. And it goes with all of us over here. There may be multiple teams who are sending the logs to login site, right? It's a huge volume. So how do we manage this volume?
Right. The best practice we follow is when you have multiple systems which are sending logs to a centralized place, at that time, it becomes very hard for IT administrator to differentiate the logs from where those logs are coming from. That's why we call it integrated load balancers. You can have a dedicated ILB created for a particular service. For example, I can send my vSphere logs to a dedicated integrated load balancer. And not only that, I can add a metadata tag to the incoming logs, saying that these logs are coming from my vSphere infrastructure. And if you have network logs, you can have a dedicated ILB created for that and give a metadata tag saying that these logs are coming from my network gears. Similarly, if you have applications which are running on microservices, you can have a multiple ILBs created and add a metadata tag. Now, why we need those? Tomorrow, you have a security audit. This set of logs should be viewed by only specific set of teams. And this set of logs should be viewed by specific set of teams. So you can create a rollback. Login site gives you the functionality to create a data sets. With that, you can apply the rollback access control. Only that set of people can view those logs if we have the proper tagging in place. Now, as I mentioned earlier, for a single deployment, we can create up to 60 ILBs. If you see the demo, it's simple. You create a static IP with a DNS entry on it, and we can add a metadata tag. Once it is done, it takes fraction of seconds to appear on the cluster admin page. Once it is done, you can see in my infrastructure, I almost created like 10 ILBs. Now, if I had to search the logs, I don't have to tell millions of logs or thousands of logs. I can use a single keyword, saying the metadata tag what we have used to search those logs. It makes job easy for administrator, for searching, for alerting, and for troubleshooting. Not only that, it increases the performance of Aria operation for logs cluster. In the sense, like if you send everything to a single VIP, it creates a back pressure on your cluster. At that time, what happens? Your alerts, your queries may get delayed. But if you are using multiple ILBs, it helps to distribute the incoming request across all the nodes on your cluster. Thus, improves the performance of Aria operation for logs. Now, second question is, how do you, the usability of Aria operation for logs? Now, many of you have the deployments which are running on on-prem, multi-cloud, or hybrid cloud. When you have the application distributed across multiple service providers, how do you get the visibility, the granular visibility, the single pane of glass visibility on my infrastructure logs? So if you see in this demo, we have the application which is running on AWS. We have 2 on-prem data centers. Now, how do we get a single pane of glass visibility for all my logs? And if there is any anomaly within the logs, how do I get notified? So with Aria operation for logs, the SaaS version, we can get all the logs from the different log sources. And anytime, if there is an event within those log sources, we can either send the email notification, we can send PagerDuty, we can Slack. Based on the exceptions, not only that, I can see the trend of events, like how is the trend, whether it's going down, whether it's coming down. By looking at the trend, you can have a baseline threshold, and you can get notified if there is any anomaly within your infrastructure.
Okay, we did talk about the performance and usability, which is a great aspect to have, and also it helps us to address those. But what about the efficiency and supportability?
Now, how many of you here are running on-prem Aria operation for logs?
Oh,
And is it single cluster or multiple clusters? So when you are running multiple clusters, it becomes very hard to manage, administer them. Like if you have, within IT, we do run almost like 50-odd Aria operation for logs cluster. With the federated log management, we give us unified view across all your on-prem Aria operation for logs clusters to view from a single console. So with the release of 8.12, you can integrate your on-prem Aria operation for logs with the SaaS version. So doing so, if during troubleshooting, you don't have to log into multiple clusters to see what is happening. It's a single pane of glass from the SaaS solution. You can run the queries across multiple on-prem clusters. The data is sitting locally. You are not sending it to the cloud, but the queries which are being run are shown in the cloud. Thus, it helps administrator to easily troubleshoot any application issue within their infrastructure. So in this demo, if you can see how we can integrate your on-prem cluster with Aria operation for SaaS. So it's a very simple configuration. On the SaaS side, we create the API key, basically the token. We take that token, go to Aria operation for on-prem. On the SaaS integration, we key in those details. Once it is done, it takes a fraction of seconds to show my entire cluster status on the SaaS side. So if I go back to the SaaS, so I can see, I can add the filter here, on-prem cluster. You can add, as on today, we do support up to 10 on-prem clusters. I can run queries from the SaaS version of Aria operation for logs. And even if you have multiple clusters, we can add multiple queries from a single pane of glass.
so it can be a mixture of both on-prem and
Yes.
cloud. That's great. All right, so this is one of the queries that most of us have with regards to the deployment. I spend a lot of time in upgrading the agents. I spend a lot of time in keeping it up to the date. How it has changed over a period of time, Fassil?
Well, in the earlier version of Aria operation for logs, we we install the agents on the end target VMs. Now, over a period of time, it becomes overhead for IT administrator. Whenever I upgrade my cluster from one version to another version, I have to upgrade the agent also to make sure there are no vulnerabilities left out. Now, with the latest version, whenever you upgrade your on-prem cluster to the latest version, the agents will get automatically upgraded. So I don't have to manually go raise a ticket with IT support folks, try to upgrade my agents. So you are always on the latest and the greatest version on the agent side. Not only that, you can push the config changes to your agents from a single pane of glass. So Aria Operation for logs will act as a deployment server. If I have a set of VMs, for example, 100 VMs, I want to get log messages from all those 100 VMs. Now, I can create a config property on the UI side and click on Save. It is a click of a button, we can get the configuration pushed to 100 of the VMs. It saves time, also increases efficiency. Now, if you see here, we're enabling the flag auto upgrade of agents. What does that mean? Whenever I upgrade my cluster Aria Operation for logs, the agents will get automatically upgraded to the version where my service is running. So now there might be the scenario, some SOC systems, they don't want touch. They don't want anything happen to on those servers. Now how do I exclude those VMs not to get auto upgraded? So in this demo, I'll showcase how we can exclude those subset of VMs not to get auto upgraded. So I can create the admin agent group, and you can see the version, which version we are running. And on the client side, where the VMs has the agent we are not supposed to upgrade, we need to comment out this line. So we comment out, that means we are making sure we are not upgrading this agent. So once it is done, whenever we upgrade, that particular agent will not get auto-upgraded.
All right, we spoke about the performance, usability, and now we are here with the stability. Okay, so this is one great question. So log size support, we did talk about the ILB, but how do I reduce the log size and keep it optimum?
Sure. We had a challenge. When we migrated from on-prem to the SaaS version, the initial cost, monthly cost was like minimal, but it keep on growing. And we had to reduce it. But we don't know how to do it, because we started the migration journey, but we were not knowing how much it is going to cost us. Now, with the log size support, we can figure it out. What is the size of the events? Whether it's really required to be sent to the SaaS version, or we can drop it. With the granular log size support, we can figure it out for the migration journey towards cloud. So we were in the plan when the management asked how much it would cost if we migrate to cloud. We were blank, because all the permutation, combination, what we were doing, it's just like we take the roughly size of the events, do the calculation, but that was not exactly correct. But with the log size support, we can get the granular size of the events. And when we move to cloud, we can see, okay, when we move from on-prem to cloud, this is how much it would cost. Now, when we have this scenario, we can move to the next slide. Now, in this demo, we show how we can showcase the size of the event. So not only that, it groups the similar events together. So we can see the event trend and event types. The type of events, it uses the machine learning capabilities to group similar type of events. So we can figure it out whether these logs are really required for my day-to-day operation, or we can drop those logs. So next thing is the cost optimization. Now, when we have everything in place, now how we can reduce the cost? We have the feature, no other tool provides that feature. Even we ingest the log, we have option called log drop. Log drop is basically to drop the irrelevant logs which are coming to my Aria operation for logs. You can create a filter based on the host name, based on the keyword, or based on any other criteria. Normally what happens, right, when the developers enable the debug log on their application, the ingestion volume from 1x, it becomes to 10x. And it's hard to control at that time, those debug messages. Now what we can do, we can create a rule here. We can create a drop rule here where we say any log which has a debug in it, drop those events. Or if we have to use those logs, we have something called index and non-index partition. Index partition is nothing, the live storage, where we can retrieve logs anytime. The non-index partition is a cold storage, which is basically the archival. So once we create that filter, all those events will automatically get dropped. And we will not charge, VMware will not charge for those drop events. And now we can see the trend. When we enable the drop, the trend has reduced. The ingestion flow, which was coming to the Aria operation process, it will reduce drastically.
Okay, so what if I need those logs later?
Yeah, we have something called, as I mentioned, the non-index partition. We can either send it to the index partition. If we don't need, we can create a bucket, send it to the non-index partition, which is basically the archival partition. Even though we have some feature called recall log partition, if we need those logs for troubleshooting, I can recall those logs and view those logs.
Okay. This is one of my favorite, okay, root cause analysis. Whatever we spoke, everything boils down to this: when the issue happens, how do I find it faster?
Okay.
How do I troubleshoot?
How many here are doing the root cause analysis manually? Good. Okay.
Okay.
Isn't it amazing if the tool does it for us? Yes, no, maybe. Okay. Root cause analysis, it's a framework that provides machine learning capabilities to find needles in the haystack. When one has to do the root cause analysis, he has to narrow down to the Aria operation for logs, search thousands of logs, start adding keywords until they found something. This could be the complete waste of office resources, as manual RCA can take hours, sometimes days. Now, with the log RCA capability, we can use machine learning to find needles in the haystack. Also, to detect any anomalies, application crashes, or kernel panics within your application.
Okay, I think let me go again. Yeah.
Okay, in this demo, we have a Python-based web application. I'm going to kill my Apache web service. So once I kill my Apache web service, I'll go back to the browser to see what happened. My application is down. All I know, my application went down. I got a call from our NOC team saying that application went down. Now I can go back to the analytics, log RCA, click on new investigation report. So in the investigation report, I can give the name, and I can see what time the incident had started. I'm only just keying in the date and time. No keywords, no errors, no exception, no server name. So I'm selecting the priority high and click on start. It takes a couple of minutes to give me the investigation report. Once the investigation report is ready, I can open it, further drill it down to see what exactly happened with my application server. Now you can see here multiple results has come up. The one with the top score, 100, I'll go into that. So once you see the events, it is showing a nasty error detected in the parent process. Normally, when somebody kills the Apache process forcefully, this is the error we can see. Now I can open a ticket with the Apache team saying that somebody has killed the Apache service. It just took a couple of minutes to get me the RCA report. I didn't add any keyword, I didn't add any host name, or I didn't add any exceptions. Tool was able to provide me, only I enter the date and time. What time, like approximate date, what time the issue had occurred. and it gives me the RCA report.
That's quite amazing, Fassil. Okay, so let me talk about the key takeaways. So, as Fassil mentioned, be prudent about the logs that you are forwarding. Filter the ones which are not required. Horizontal and vertical scaling is up to your environment, how you want to design. And the ease of administration, of course, he did cover in later dashboards. Any questions, please? Yeah.
We can take it offline.
Okay, we can take it offline.
Once-
Okay,
Yeah.
I think questions will take it offline. This is how you guys can contact us and get to know more about how we have implemented in IT, and you can make use of all those best practices that we have done in our IT. Gentlemen,
so much.
this is Aria Operations for Logs.
Thanks.
Thank you.